Hello, Mallards. It is Thursday, and yes, I am wearing the same outfit I was wearing in my video yesterday. Why? Because I filmed these on the same day. Because it turned out that Wednesday was just a wild day for me, and the rest of the week may not be. So I'm just filming a lot of videos on Wednesday to post for the rest of the week. Ginny, very interested in the fact that I'm filming this video. Mary and I just watched the 5th episode of Hawkeye, and it was glorious. This will be nothing but spoilers. Buckle up and get ready. Yelena is still everything that I ever want in anything. Like, she is my favorite character in the MCU. I am so upset that the Black Widow film didn't occur when it occurred chronologically, because I would have gotten more Yelena, and also because I think it would have been a better story for Natasha had it occurred there. They could have actually done some interesting things with her character rather than like building a swan song because everybody knew she was gonna die anyway. But this episode of Hawkeye just did all the things that I wanted. Starts with a flashback to 2018 where Yelena gets dusted, like snapped out of existence, and then back, which I knew had to happen. Like, there was no way that they couldn't like dust Yelena, because if she hadn't been dusted, then Natasha wouldn't be in the situation she was in 5 years later when they were trying to save the world. Like, when they built her into Black Widow, I was like, well, she has to have been dusted because it builds in a layer for Natasha. Now, if only they had built in that layer before they had done Endgame, and then Natasha could have been fighting for that family. And then the scene on the cliff, even worse, because they both have family that they're fighting for, and Natasha just decides that Clint's more important. Anyway, watching that moment with Yelena and then her being like, oh, I need to find Natasha and tell her that I'm okay. Made me so sad. This episode was a lot of sad, but also a lot of wonderful, because the next thing that happens is, well, Kate tells her mom that Jack is bad news bears. Good for her. And then she goes back to her apartment to get her stuff. And when she arrives there, who's waiting but Yelena? And what is Yelena doing? Making mac and cheese for them to eat, because that's just the kind of person she is. And their entire conversation over mac and cheese about who Yelena is and about Kate Bishop and about Clint Barton, and all of it's just so perfect. Like, every moment of that conversation is just everything that I wanted and more. Yelena asks Kate where she should go while she's in New York, because she's busy, and what she should do. And she's sincere about all of it. Like, that's the best part. And she's so kind in the way that Yelena is kind. And watching her just pour hot sauce on the mac and cheese, hilarious. Watching her describe the mac and cheese, she chides Kate for only owning one fork. Fair. And just everything about their interaction is so good. And I feel like it balances out, and also it served for somebody to give Yelena a little bit of a voice of reason, which I think is really important, because I didn't want her just coming in and I thought there was a possibility she could just come in and kill Clint, and they'd be like, all right, good, we've gotten Clint Barton out of the MCU, and now we've got, this other thing to build. But they instead built this scene in, which I think was really nice, a really nice conversation, a good moment for the two of them to bond, and I think a really good moment to recenter Yelena on what really matters, which is the truth. I feel like that is central to her character more than it is to any other character in the entirety of the MCU, because a lot of her life was built on a lie. And so for Yelena, the truth matters more than anything else. And I think it's nice that Kate sort of put that in there to be like, hey, you should try and figure out what's really going on. Because we know that while revenge can be important, what matters to Yelena is the truth. And I think that she will take the opportunity to figure out the truth. And that's what I like. But just every moment from that conversation, so she like shows up and Kate throws hot sauce at her and then she says, "Hi." Oh, it's so good. Just in that hi, I was so pleased. I was so pleased about all of it. That whole scene is great. Then we went back to find out that Kate's mom told the cops about Jack, like looked into it, told the cops about Jack, and he's being arrested. And then he's like, "I'm being framed." And in that moment, I was like, ooh, maybe he is being framed. Like, maybe Jack is being framed by Kate's mom, because I'm sure that Kate's mom is evil. Like, I've decided that already. So possibly Jack is being framed by Kate's mom. I'm also back to thinking that the watch belongs to Matt Murdock because of the whole Kingpin angle. I'm like, Daredevil has been out of the game for a while. Especially if we assume that, like, Matt Murdock didn't get snapped away, then, like, that builds in that extra 5 years. So, like, he really has been out of the game for a while. So I think it's very possible that, like, it is very probable that the watch belongs to Matt Murdock. Although it also is trying to tell me that it belongs to Laura, so who knows? Like, there might be a reveal that Laura is Mockingbird, which would be fine. Like, I'm starting to like Laura more as this series goes on, but also would be disappointing because then we're essentially just making her like a form or something, and that's no fun. Like, really no fun. And also because there is a Mockingbird in S.H.I.E.L.D., and that is still supposed to be MCU. Like, S.H.I.E.L.D. is canon, supposedly, in the same way that these shows are, and I would like to keep S.H.I.E.L.D. canon. So I think that Bobby Morris in that is so good that they better not just make another one. I would be upset. So I'm not sure what's going to happen there, but I'm leaning a lot towards it being Matt Murdock. And then Kate tells Clint, well, Kate saves Clint from Maya. He reveals to Maya that he was Ronin and tells her that he was hired by her boss to kill her dad, which gets in her head in the best way. I'm intrigued to see how that grows. And then Kate saves him from getting killed and then tells him that Natasha's sister was looking, and he says Yelena. And I was like, yes, great. I'm so glad. He better know some stuff. When they get together, I'm going to be really interested, because if they haven't had a serious heart-to-heart conversation about Yelena in the time since when that was supposed to take place, and now, I'm going to be pissed. And in fact, he probably knew who Yelena was before that. So, like, I want that conversation to happen because I want to hear Clint tell Yelena what Nat says about her to other people. Because we won't get that opportunity with Nat because they didn't invent Yelena until after they'd murdered Natasha. I'm not bitter about it. It's fine. But I want those moments. And so I'm looking forward to that. And then it ended with the reveal that everybody thought was coming. And I'm pleased that it did, which is that Vincent D'Onofrio is absolutely back as Kingpin, because there's a picture of him meeting with Kate's mom, and that Kate's mom hired Yelena to kill Clint. So, Kate's mom is evil, Vincent D'Onofrio is back as Kingpin, and all seems to be right with the world. Except for the fact that there's only one more episode. That's the only thing that's wrong with the world. What's wrong with the world is that there's only one more episode. And then there better be a season 2, or I'm going to be devastated. I know that a lot of people were like, Loki, Loki, Loki. I want more Loki. And I enjoyed Loki just fine. But I love this show. And I want more of it now. And it is a crime that there's only one more episode. So I guess I'll have to wait until next week and watch that and then lick my wounds and hope for the next thing. I'll see you tomorrow.